Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. I'm En Fuego here, and I welcome you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment. Gracias for being a part of my continuing Chattanooga Film Festival coverage, and this is a collaboration between two actresses, Precious Chong and Alex Iso, I believe, and director Zach Gain, who was also a co-writer on this. And this was another festival favorite of mine. This is a film simply entitled Homewrecker. And Homewrecker is a very dark comedy that I really dug so goddamn much because of the fact that it was so simple in its premise, yet so effective, so funny, and claustrophobic, self-contained, and I mean, just brilliance in its own right between just this strange little relationship that happens very quickly amongst these two women. And just to do another Rapido Fuego review, so not to take up too immense amounts of y'all's respective time, yeah, the Chattanooga Film Festival went virtual for the first time this past year, and this film had played previously in 2019 in July at the Fantasia Festival in Canada. It had also done Fantastic Fest in the US, a couple others, but yeah, it was a feature at Chattanooga, which went all digital and everything this past year, because we know how this year of 2020 has gone thus far. What the hell are you gonna do? But yeah, premise, just to be very brief without spoiling too much, is there is this slightly older woman. I mean, Precious Chong, you kind of get like I'd say maybe more so like late 40s, mid to late 40s. And she goes and befriends this Alex Iso, if I'm not sure the proper pronunciation, but Precious I know I'd seen previously in boy, was it LA Confidential maybe, or Pearl Harbor or something, I don't know. She's got a pretty extensive IMDb. But Alex I had seen, who is the much younger girl in a couple of the same workout classes as Precious's character. Alex we just saw in Dr. Sleep, and she was much better than anticipated with having such a massive undertaking of trying to reprise Shelley Long's character of Wendy Torrance in Dr. Sleep, and she was great. I thought she really just, it's so tough to recast an iconic character like that, and I thought she was terrific. But the first thing I ever saw her in was the Starry Eyes duos, the Starry Eyes film, where she was this aspiring actress, and boy, is that a rough one to watch. But she, like, I recognized her immediately, and I was like, damn, she's in this. Okay, I'm immediately locked in, because this is an incredibly talented actress. And Precious is great in her own right, as as I said, the older woman, but not too much older, maybe like 12, 15 years older. But nonetheless, she very deliberately strikes up this friendship with the girl who she's kind of had her eye on, so to speak, and not like in some weird like sexual way or anything like that, but you can definitely tell this woman has a few screws loose. She just wants a friend, and she's lonely, and so they're in like, and they work out at the same gym, and they've got like a couple classes together, yoga and something else I think, and lo and behold, Precious's character shows up at the same coffee house that Alex is doing some work at, and she's an interior designer, and she's really the way I feel at coffee bars a lot of the time, where I'm just sitting there trying to sip my cold brew and just chill and get some work done, and there is somebody who you either don't know at all or don't really know very well, and they kind of impose and invite themselves and want to sit down and just really muck up your workflow. If you're there and somebody wants to socialize with you, you can't get anything accomplished, and that's what goes down. But Alex's character is very, she is courteous enough to indulge this woman, so to speak, even though she's immediately kind of prying into her life and asking her questions about, do you have a man, you're married, you want to have kids. Like, she's kind of interrogating her. It's really crazy, and it makes you wonder, like, how strange is this woman, and what sort of weird motives does she have? How obsessive is she? Why is she so just strange and socially awkward and all this other stuff? And then you're kind of guessing, is this person like a super creepazoid, or are they just socially inept and just really want friends and struggle with the more socially acceptable ways of going about trying to make them? So She ends up back at the chick's house because she's like, hey, I want to show you my home. I would like to hire you to help me redecorate my place. And it just is immediately awkward, you know? She's like, let's hang out, let's have a drink, let's do this, let's do that. And it's just has that darkly comedic awkwardness. And you're just like, oh man, how weird is this woman really? Like, how bad could this go? And that's where I don't want to spoil, because this is a dark comedy, but it does have some very interesting twists and turns, especially in the third act, that were not what I was expecting, you know, and in both good ways and bad ways. Not necessarily in bad ways, but maybe in weird ways of convenience, a bit here and there, but really as a whole, it's very sharp writing, it's funny as fuck, and there is a board game scene in particular where the older woman played by you know, Miss Chong, she's basically like, hey, we need to sit down and play this game. It's called Party Guys, and it looks so out of the late 80s, early 90s, which, you know, as this woman laments a few times throughout the film, she's upset about the fact that she's old and she feels undesirable and out of touch and all of these different things. And so they're playing this board game, and it has an accompanying VHS tape that has these hot guys, like there's the nerdy one, there's the more sensitive one, the sports guy, the one with the mullet. It's just all this different stuff, and it's so incredibly amusing. And you know, they're going around it's almost like the game of, well, no, not even the game of life, just like your typical square board game and stuff. But you know, you're like, you lose kisses for stuff, you can get grounded, you can get pimples, and then you won't get dates, and it's just such a silly scene and so funny. And the chemistry between both of these actresses, and as I said, it's very self-contained. The predominance of the movie takes place at Chong's house, and yeah, I don't know. It was such a pleasant surprise, way more so than I was anticipating, especially for a very brisk watch. It's like right around the 80-minute mark, but yeah, great performances from both of these ladies, and they just bring a warmth and amusing energy, but also just like that dark edge that with a lot of my favorite like black comedies, you know, whether it's Heathers or Very Bad Things or whatever it may be, I really appreciate this sort of filmmaking, because to do it right, it takes great chops, and it takes that, you know, kind of like fork tongue, just kind of viciousness in the writing to really make it effective. And this film totally accomplishes it 100%, 95%. I don't want to like sing the utmost praises, but it definitely needs a ton of attention. This needs to, like, there's no release dates just yet. The entertainment industry is so weird right now, and you know, but this could definitely have a home on Netflix, on Hulu. It would be great on Shudder, because it does veer into at least enough of a dark territory at times. I don't necessarily know if this would be, you know, territory for sure for the other channel that I work for, you know, on the horror show. I guess it could, but you know, there's so much content that we've already covered on that channel. I feel like this is one that would get lost in the cracks potentially, and who knows when we would end up reviewing it, and it's one that people need to have on their genre radars. It was definitely one of the best that I saw at the Chattanooga Film Festival, and I would be remiss if I did not mention the music, because there is this very old-timey, like, I don't know, like doo-woppy and sometimes surf rocky, just kind of a beach party 50s kind of movies and stuff. That's really, at least musically, the kind of vibe that it has, but then it kind of pulls it back and it keeps some of those same like woppy melody kind of things. Oh god, doo-woppy melodies, terrible, Fuego. And yet it kind of re-orchestrates them a little bit, and it does add like a dark kind of creepiness at times that I really appreciated. But yeah, Homewrecker was rad, and I laughed my ass off, and I definitely recommend it. This is another 4 out of 5 from the Chattanooga Fest. This is a certified Fuego film, 4 out of 5 babos, as you see below. So yes, a grande gracias for everybody tuning in. I've been Jaime En Fuego, and you can find moi on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube, where primarily here on Enfuegotainment, it's like me geeking out. You know, there's flashback, or like a throwback Friday throwback Thursday, retro fuego kind of thing that I do, where I look back at films that I had missed from years past. I do an animated Monday, and I also review new stuff like, comics and films, a little bit of TV here and there. I do a Star Wars show on the weekends, but also art house drama and Academy contenders and stuff. I relaunched this channel about a year ago, and a like, share, and subscribe as I forge forward with this is supremely appreciated. But the more prestigious channel that I am a part of as a producer and an on-air host is none other than youtube.com/The Horror Show channel, as you see below, and that's where we do spooktacular coverage at least once, sometimes twice every single day, whether it's a trailer reaction, review of a film, television series, book, comic. We do video game Let's Plays. I have a weekly Stephen King show on Saturdays. We do unboxings, convention coverage. Remember those when we used to have those? Makeup tutorials, comedy sketches occasionally, you name it, a vast amount of awesomeness. So jump over and subscribe there too. But that's the much bigger channel. So please make sure to show some love here with me first before you migrate over there. So, Jaime En Fuego, y'all have been state of the badass art, and until the reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, Cinemigos, constant readers and viewers alike, say thank you, but I'm hopeful that we share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, stay in and watch more independent cinema. And keep an eye out for Homewrecker. Don't be one yourself though. That's shitty.